In the heart of the Roman Empire, at the height of its power, one man held the fate of millions in his hands. He was not a tyrant, hungry for power, nor a general, thirsty for glory. He was a philosopher, thrust into a world of chaos, who would become the last of the 5 good emperors. He faced a devastating plague that killed millions, constant war on the frontiers of his empire, and bitter betrayal from his most trusted general. Yet, through it all, his greatest battle was not fought on the fields of Germania, but within the pages of his private journal, and inside his own mind. This is the story of Marcus Aurelius, the story of a man who was given absolute power, but only sought power over himself. This is the story of the man who conquered himself. Born in the year 121 AD, Marcus Aurelius was never meant to be emperor. He was a quiet, serious boy, drawn not to the battlefield, but to the library. From the age of 12, he dedicated himself to philosophy, finding a home in the teachings of Stoicism. He learned from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, a former slave, that true freedom comes not from our external circumstances, but from our internal response to them. This single idea would become the bedrock of his entire life. But fate had other plans. Through a complex and unexpected line of succession, the quiet philosopher was adopted by the Emperor Antoninus Pius and marked as the future ruler of the known world. For 2 decades, he trained at the emperor's side, learning the heavy burden of governance. In the year 161, at the age of 40, the throne became his. His first act as absolute ruler was not to consolidate power, but to share it. He insisted his adoptive brother, Lucius Verus, be made co-emperor. It was an unprecedented act of humility and duty, but the calm of his apprenticeship was about to be shattered. Marcus Aurelius inherited an empire at peace. It would not last. His reign was defined by 3 great trials, each testing his Stoic resolve to its absolute limit. First came the plague. The Antonine Plague, brought back by soldiers from the east, swept through the empire, killing an estimated 10 million people. At its height, 2,000 died in Rome every day. The empire was bleeding. While others panicked, Marcus remained a pillar of calm. He sold his own imperial treasures to fund the state, refusing to raise taxes on his suffering people. He consulted the best doctors and stood with his citizens, a steady presence in a world consumed by fear. As the plague raged, a second crisis erupted. Barbarian tribes swarmed across the Danube frontier, threatening the heart of the empire. For the next decade, the philosopher-king would become a warrior emperor, spending most of his reign not in a palace, but in a frozen military camp on the edge of the world. It was here, in the crucible of war, that he wrote his immortal masterpiece, Meditations. Not a book for us, but a private journal to himself. A series of exercises to remind himself how to be a good man, even when the world was falling apart. Then came the third trial, betrayal. In 175, his most trusted general, Avidius Cassius, falsely believing Marcus was dead, declared himself emperor. The man Marcus had relied on to govern the East had stabbed him in the back. An ordinary emperor would have responded with rage and vengeance. Marcus responded with sadness. He reportedly wept, not for the betrayal, but for the man he would have to fight. Before he could confront him, Cassius was murdered by his own soldiers. Marcus's response? He burned all of Cassius's letters unread, refusing to know the names of the other conspirators, breaking the cycle of violence. Plague, war, and betrayal. Any one of these could break a man. Marcus faced them all, and through it all, he held to one powerful idea. The Stoics call it the dichotomy of control. The idea that some things are up to us and others are not. Marcus could not control the plague, the wars, or the betrayals of other men. But he could control his response. This is the essence of his philosophy. He saw every disaster not as a catastrophe, but as an opportunity. An opportunity to practice virtue, courage, justice, and self-control. He famously wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The plague was an obstacle. It became a chance to show compassion and leadership. The war was an obstacle. It became a chance to show courage and duty. The betrayal was an obstacle. It became a chance to show forgiveness and restraint. He conquered these external challenges by first conquering his own internal reactions. He refused to let fear, anger, or despair ruin his character, because, as he reminded himself, it can ruin your life only if it ruins your character. He had conquered the world, but he knew the real victory was conquering himself. In the year 180, after nearly 2 decades of ceaseless struggle, Marcus Aurelius died in his military camp on the Danube. His reign marked the end of the Pax Romana, the great Roman peace. The son who succeeded him would prove to be a disaster, and the empire would begin its long, slow decline. But his legacy was not one of empire, but of ideas. The private journal he wrote in the midst of chaos, Meditations, survived. And in its pages, we find a timeless guide to living a life of meaning and resilience. Marcus Aurelius teaches us that we don't have power over outside events, but we always have power over our minds. That the quality of our lives depends on the quality of our thoughts. And that, in a world of chaos, the ultimate victory is to conquer yourself.